for this game to get underway. It's Basson against Yashin in the face-off circle. The puck comes back to Lefebvre. He has perhaps been the steadiest defenseman this year for the Nordiques, and he's playing in his 400th National Hockey League game today.
Well, Yashin is one of a few players that the Senators look to over the longer haul. Very, very difficult for a young guy to come into a situation like this and understand the line between losing and not making an excuse. The Senators have lost 8 one-goal games, and it's pretty simple to look at that when you're on this team and say, geez, we were close. But what you have to do is find a way to make the difference to win those games and not be satisfied with simply a one-goal loss.
Gaudreau from the face-off with a quick shot, and Snow has to make the save. Now Detmarsh having some problems. Checked by Yashin. He throws it towards the net wide. Wolanin moves it up along the left side, and the Nordiques finally get it out to center. Detmarsh leaves it there for Lefebvre. Takes a return pass. Working in against Neskash. Detmarsh in the corner, looks to the point. Wolanin shot right on. Beaupré had traffic in front. He comes out of the net to play it to the sideboards. Yashin starts away. Wolanin breaks it up at his own line. Yashin picks it up, but it's brought in offside.
Well, Don Beaupré has done a pretty good job for the Senators this year. He's faced a ton of shots, and at times when you lose hockey games, the goaltender is the last guy to get the credit. And when you win them, somebody else is getting the credit. Take a look at this save he makes early on this afternoon. The first one is pretty simple, but his leg is there for the rebound as well, as Neskash does a nice job in front of the net, making sure that there's not a third shot on its way towards Beaupré.
It was interesting that Rick Bowness was saying, although Neskash is a rookie, only 19 years of age, he's out against the top lines on opposing teams. Here comes Kovalenko. He drives it in deep. Kamensky flips it back to the net. Dahlquist couldn't get out. Sakic plays it back to the net for Kovalenko. Kamensky couldn't move it. Played up along the boards. Cunnyworth couldn't get it out. Sakic takes his time, tried to feed it cross ice, and it was broken up by Cunnyworth. Cunnyworth got to center ice. He was checked. Kovalenko works his way in. Sakic is trailing. Sakic goes to the front of the net. Kovalenko threw it there, but Sakic was knocked into the end boards, and he couldn't make a play to him.
Kovalenko's a very, very strong skater. We saw Ottawa defenseman trying to defend against Kovalenko. He just put his shoulder down and carried 1 or 2 right around the net.
Yeah, was watched by Owen Nolan, who has been on a tear of late. He leads the team with 24 goals. It's played in off Wolanin. Picard goes to the corner after it, but Gar Snow came way out of his net to play it. Here comes Peter Forsberg. Forsberg working his way towards the net. Nice move, and his shot hit a player in front. 17:54 the time remaining in the opening period. No score here at Le Coliseum. Vial takes it back of his own net. The Nordiques making a line change. Vial throws a cross ice pass. Racing after it is Levens, and he was checked by Stephen Finn. Lefebvre couldn't clear. McIver kept it in at the point. Shot by Bonk, bounces high to the corner. Levens comes in, fighting for the puck. He's a big, strong forward. He and Lefebvre continue the battle. Finally, it comes free. Along the boards, Troy Murray trying to move it. Some concern as to whether or not Troy Murray would be available to play in this game because of a spearing incident the other night in Buffalo, but he is out there. Back to the point now. It's fed in by Neskash. Lefebvre in the corner. Puck comes right out front, and it's grabbed and held by Garth Snow. 16:56 remaining in the first. It's still scoreless against this season. They've done quite a job taking it from 3.45 to 2.76. You can talk about offensive power, but it's keeping the puck out of your own net that's also a key.
Well, Ottawa hasn't done too bad a job in that department. If you look at those statistics, they've got 112 goals against, and there's 3 or 4 teams that are right around that number.
Here's a breakaway for Daig. Daig going in on Snow. He scores! He went to his backhand. 1-0 Ottawa.
Well, Don, we talked about fear as a motivator. Well, you don't want to get blown out again. And Ottawa's come out with some good snap. A long pass. Watch the acceleration on Dig. This is what makes the difference in his game, and he has to use this as much as possible. Krupp was with him at the red line, and by the time they got to the blue line, all Krupp saw was black sweater and white 91. Snow with really his first real shot of the game. Gets taken right across the crease, and a guy who knows how to score and has proven it in junior and in the National Hockey League now gives Ottawa a quick lead in this game.
13th goal of the year for Alexander Day. Now it's Sakic trying to set up. Back to the point. Wolanin lets the shot go off a stick behind the net. Kamensky was jammed into the Ottawa net in behind Donald Beaupre. Cunnyworth drives it in deep. Snow comes out of the net to play it, and it's flipped out to center ice. Gaudreau draws the lone assist on the goal by Alexander Day at 3:36 of this opening period. Back to the point. There's a shot fired wide by Dahlquist. Kamensky picks it up in his own zone. Then he leaves it there for Laukkanen, and it's dumped in as the Nordiques make a change. Finn at center ice. He has some problems controlling it. It's picked up by Ricci. Ricci working in against Pitlick, gets his own rebound and fires it wide. Now it's Lefebvre driving it back into Ottawa territory. LaRouche, who was called up on Thursday from the American Hockey League in his first game since the recall. His equipment didn't show up in time for him to play in Buffalo. He's out there now with Picard. Here's Young with a shot that goes wide. It ricochets all the way out to center ice. Now it's Picard weaving his way through center. Drops it at the line, but in the process, Pat Elnick was offside.
After the shot was made, his job wasn't done. Ricci knew that and got another chance as a result of his tenacity.
Ascension moved it out to center ice. Deadmarsh couldn't do anything with it. Here's LaRouche getting set. He fed it in front. Snow couldn't clear. LaRouche gets it back to the net. Picard is taken in against the boards. Elnick comes in to help out. Elnick frees it. Then Elnick is tied up by Krupp. Picard continues to battle. Lecition goes back to the net trying to kick it free. Some aggressive forechecking by this unit for the Senators. There's the shot from a bad angle by LaRouche, and it bounces all the way back to center.
Well, the Senators have been in Quebec now since Thursday, so they've had a little bit of time to practice here at the Colisée and get together as a group. Only half a dozen hours or so down the road to Ottawa, but with some financial considerations and schedule considerations, they decided to come right here after their last game, and it looks like it's paid off with a quick start for them this afternoon.
Levens goes for the net. McIver tried to get him the puck. It was deflected away. Back to the point. Netzcash with a shot, the rebound, and it's flipped wide by Murray. Murray tried to feed it out into the slot, and he missed the target, and it ricochets all the way down the ice. Early pressure by the Senators.
Not a mind reader, Dodd, but I can tell you exactly what Troy Murray said after he missed that chance. A huge opportunity for the Senators to go up by 2, and it just rolled off of the wood of Murray's blade.
Murray drives it in. It's left there for Lefebvre. He's being watched by Day. Now Nolan starts away. Beaupre cuts off the shoot-in. Kamensky had been racing in after it. A rink-wide pass intercepted by Kovalenko. Kovalenko drives it in deep. Sakic was beaten to it, back of the net. Kamensky in behind the goal. He's checked. And Sakic takes it away from Yashin, and Sakic is knocked down by Pitlick. And that results in a stoppage in play with 12:48 left in the period.
And he gives it a little bit too much gas at the other. If you take your man that way, even a guy that can average 100 points a season like Sakic is going to be hard-pressed to score against you when he's on his derriere. That's the other official language here. Just want to get that in for you, Don.
And I think we'll see Joe Sakic being double shifted a fair bit by Coach Mark Crawford during the course of this game. He particularly likes to take advantage of the television timeouts to get Sakic out there on 2 different lines. Lead pass for Yashin. Yashin out front. Gaudreau couldn't get a shot away as he was checked. And back come the Nordiques, led by Young, breaking down the left side. Into the slot. Weak shot. The rebound lays in front of the net. And Ricci couldn't pick it up. Norm McIver had to wait a moment for his teammate to get onside. Tried to flip it to the front of the net, but it was knocked away by Bolannon. Ricci throws it rink wide, intended for Young. Beyond his reach, Young gets it again as Beaupre made a bad pass. A wraparound attempt, and Beaupre came right across to smother it.
Well, Ottawa has come out with a fair amount of snap in this early going of the first period, but this catch doesn't stop for that pack. There's another Nordique that's the third man ready for the scoring chance. Good job by Ottawa to clear the zone.
The Senators in the throes of their worst losing streak of the year. They haven't won in their last 6 games. Hoping to end things this afternoon at the Coliseum. The puck was caught up in the equipment of Troy Murray. Not sure whether he knew where it was or whether he was trying to fool everyone into thinking he wasn't sure where the puck was, but he took about 3 or 4 strides before dropping it to the ice. Kovalenko goes to the corner, trying to move out front. Kamensky gets it back to Kovalenko, a backhand shot, and a pad save by Beaupre. Kovalenko has it again. This unit has really been cycling the puck well down deep. Position comes in from the point. For Sakic in the corner. Sakic trying to work out front. A backhand shot saved by Beaupre. All sorts of pressure here by the Nordiques. At the line, Krupp was unable to keep it onside. And Cunnyworth will flip it high. Snow has to make the save as both sides make a change. Cunnyworth gets it again, and he was looking in front of the net for McElwain, and Snow read it and deflected it. Forsberg with a shot now, and the save by Beaupre, and he grabs the puck at the side of the net. Some great action at both ends of the rink, and now a crowd gathers in behind Ottawa goaltender Don Beaupre.
Well, way down at the other end of the rink, Garth Snow was there. Cannot prevent the backhand. Well, Forsberg just had a little conversation with the gloves of Dennis Vial behind the net. Vial finished the check, and that's what all the discussion and ruckus was there. Bob Basson, I'm sure his dad Hank is in Calgary watching this game on Hockey Afternoon in Canada. Dennis Vial finishing the body check on Forsberg. We saw Pitlick do the same thing on 19 Sakic. Forsberg gets the gloves up a little bit. Doesn't hurt to do that. Lets the defenseman know that it's not going to be simple to take you. And Basson, who is here, will sit for a couple of minutes as a result.
Ottawa's power play ranks 17th in the National Hockey League. And one of the keys to any power play success starts back in the blue line with the man who moved the puck out of the zone, Norm McIver. Yashin had it bounce off his body, and Scott Young gets it out to center ice.
You really have to be careful when Young gets the puck. Not only is he fast, but he's quick. He's got excellent acceleration. He decided to change on that last play, but if he puts the horses to his legs, he's a tough guy to catch.
Ottawa having some problems trying to set up with this man advantage. Now Yashin works his way in across the line. He tried to play it in deep. It took a strange bounce and almost got away from Garth Snow. Now Forsberg will pick it up and loft it high to center.
You've really got to watch the glass here in Quebec. The supports are not countersunk at all, and it can cause pucks to jump out at will.
Yashin moving into the slot, now drives it into Hoffman. He fanned on the shot, and here's a 2-on-1 led by Nolan. He has Forsberg with him. Lefebvre jumping up into the play. They score! Nolan will get the goal, but I think he was trying to make a play, and it simply slid off his stick and fooled Beaupre in the process. Goal number 25 for Owen Nolan.
Oh, when things are going right, this is the sort of thing that happens. On the boards, Huffman simply fans on the puck. Now Nolan gets caught here. He takes too much time and wishes he would have made the play sooner. But when you got 24 goals and you've had a pile in the last dozen games, things just seem to keep going right for you. Head up and everything else, but a fan shot, and somehow the puck finds its way under the arm of Beaupre. Ottawa unlucky, Nolan lucky. The result's a tied hockey game.
And he's tied for the goal-scoring lead with Jaromir Jagr of the Pittsburgh Penguins. You know, if you project it, Sakic comes in. If you projected Nolan's totals over an 84-game season, he'd have 60 goals this year. Well, of course, it's only 48 games for this 95 hockey season.
Really? Almost like the luck of the Irish, Don.
Ricard back of the net. Elnick plays it to the point. Pitlick for Elnick. He circles in the corner. Out front for LaRouche. He couldn't get a shot away. Gets it again and scores. He was checked the first time. Got the puck again. And LaRouche gives Ottawa a 2-1 lead on a power play with just 2 seconds left in the penalty to Basson.
Well, good tenacity here. Watch LaRouche. He misses it the first time because of a stick check, but regroups in a hurry, goes right to the shelf. Now, snow is already down. Whether LaRouche realizes it or not, he's in tight, and he wants to go to the roof. Well, he doesn't. Goes off the crossbar and right in. Just called up from PEI, where Senators farm team leads the league. Nice goal for him.
And it's easy to understand when you see that goal why LaRouche was leading the American Hockey League in scoring with 101 points.
Good hands.
2-1, the Senators lead. Bolannon back of his own net. Ahead for Deadmarsh to Norris. He flips it wide. 8:30 remaining in the opening period. Deadmarsh moved it out front. It bounced away from Norris, and Levens brings it out to center. Murray tried to shoot it in. It was blocked there by Wolanin. A long lead pass misses everybody. Beaupré is forced to play it. Assission will dump it to the corner. Vial goes back after it. The Senators return home for a Monday night date against the Montreal Canadiens. All sorts of rumors around Quebec today about a possible trade involving Montreal and Calgary.
Well, we haven't had much luck in tracking down anybody that can confirm that, but
here's Yashin with a shot saved by Snow. And now it's Nolan working his way out. 3-on-2. Nolan coming down the right side. Moves it back for Lesishin. A backhand shot and a wraparound try now by Nolan, who had gone back to the net, but it's smothered by Don Beaupré with 7:35 left in the period.
24% against the Senators. The Senators, a lot of the time, get pegged as having the worst of something in the league. Well, that's not the case in all cases. There's 5 different teams that are below them in penalty killing, including Edmonton, San Jose, Hartford, New Jersey, and Anaheim.
Well, we've had a shorthanded goal. Nolan's 25th from Lesishin, and a power play goal. LaRouche with his first from Elnick and Picard, and an even strength goal by Day. And Ottawa currently enjoying a 2-1 advantage with Quebec on the power play. As Forsberg went in and touched it, there's a whistle on the play. Icing against Quebec.
Well, Quebec's power play against in your penalty killing, particularly in short season, you want that differential to be as large as possible. The neat thing is that the strength of special teams comes from your 5-on-5 play, and when Mark Crawford looks at that part of his team's game, he has to be very, very pleased.
34-year-old Mark Crawford behind the bench of the Nordiques, the team with the best overall record in the National Hockey League, and a preseason pick by Jim Poplinski to be a strong Stanley Cup contender this year.
Well, it's very kind of you, Whit, but I also picked Pittsburgh to miss the playoffs. So.
Well, you win some, lose some. Here's Sakic. He didn't shoot. Then out front they score. Owen Nolan. And that's 2 not classic goals for the leading scorer in the NHL, but the Nordiques are back on even terms.
Well, once again, the luck of the Irish on a Sunday afternoon, one day after April Fool's Day. Nolan has not had 2 decent shots on net yet, and he finds himself with 2 goals. It just goes to show you what happens when you get some confidence and when you shoot from anywhere. Nolan's looking the side of the net, and he simply whacks the puck. Now, guys during practice, Don, will regularly put pucks as close to the goal line as they can and see who can put it up top and put it in. Now, that one is about a foot off of the goal line. That's not easy to do, particularly when it's rolling, but it makes no difference. And you've got 26 goals in 34 games.
So on the power play, Owen Nolan ties it for Quebec. Elnick works his way into the corner. To the other side for LaRouche. Back to the point now for Vial. He couldn't get a shot initially. A weak backhand right to the goal mouth. snows down, makes the save, and then the puck is pushed to him by Young, and he covers up. Owen Nolan now the goal-scoring leader by himself in the National Hockey League, as he nailed his 26th on the power play from Sakic and Forsberg at 13:06.
Well, the goal-scoring lead in the National tie against Los Angeles. And Owen Nolan now right ahead with his left hand on that shot by LaRouche. Two kids called up from PEI have already had an impact on this hockey game.
LaRouche got the draw back to the point, but Huffman couldn't handle it. 6:30 remaining in the first period. 2-2 is the score. Here's Elnick trying to go rink wide for Picard. That was broken up by Uwe Krug. Hoffman fell. Loose puck picked up by Corbett to Sakic. He scores!
I'll tell you what, Don, in this building, one thing you want to do is keep the crowd out of it. Don't give Les Nordiques a reason to get excited. This game has been fairly wide open, and although the Senators have been taking the play, when you've got skill like 19 White, like 11 White, 21 White, all of these guys down the line that can execute as Sakic and Corbett do on this play, you're taking a huge risk, and Les Nordiques now have got some jump. The Senators, I think, would like to slow this game down a little bit. Otherwise, they'll find themselves exchanging chances, and we know who will be the victors in that type of game.
The Nordiques with the lead for the first time. They were twice trailing by scores of 1-0 and 2-1. Here's Yashin with a shot off both posts. It's loose out in front of the net again. And Yashin came within 2 goal posts of putting this one back on even terms. Sakic is 14th from Corbett at 13:44. The scoring play for Quebec. McIver wins the race against Forsberg for the loose puck, and it's icing Quebec.
Well, you're going to see Yashin dig. One's down at the other end of the rink, but he didn't expect to see so many at his end of the rink so soon in this game.
We talked about Ottawa returning home on Monday to face Montreal. The Nordiques have a home-and-home series with the Canadians on Wednesday and Thursday. And that could be a very important series in the diminishing playoff hopes of the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, the Canadiens still find themselves out of the playoffs. Here's a look at what took place. Yelling, being gone 7-7. Jamnov with 5 goals.
John Paddock told Jamnov to shoot the puck more. Obviously, he listened to the instructions.
So he did 5 times.
Here's Kamensky looking for Sakic. Tried to feed it through, but Sakic was tied up by Dahlquist. Here's Picard trying to break free. Backhand shot, and he crashes right into snow and into the net. And there'll be a stoppage in play. Boy, there have been some great chances at both ends in a wide-open afternoon hockey game on this second day of April.
Well, Picard has made his presence felt so far this afternoon. And if this game keeps going in the same fashion, we will probably see a similar outcome. A ton of goals with the more skilled team perhaps winning. Lasician has been a strong defenseman for Les Nordiques this year. The Western Hockey League, all the way east. He's done a good job here in Quebec.
Hoffman at the point trying to keep it in. He's checked. Here comes Quebec led by Wolanin. He shoots. Saved by Beaupré. The rebound. Young with a backhand shot. And McIver may have blocked that one. And then Beaupré sprawls to make another save.
Well, it's perhaps isn't a game that you're going to make videos out of for defense of the NHL.
1:44 remaining in the penalty to Lasician. Beck trying to get back on even terms on this power play. Netzcash moves it cross ice. LaRouche scored his first of the season earlier in this hockey game. Goes back to the net. It comes to the point. Huffman over to Netzcash. In the corner, Elnick. To LaRouche up front for Elnick. Elnick tried to move in close. His flip shot hit a player in front. And back comes Sakic. He and Basson got a little mixed up at the blue line and went offside.
And Wesley, Brendan Shanahan, and Pierre Turgeon, each one of those guys in Sakic's draft year had a team that thought they would be better than Joe Sakic. Those teams were incorrect by a wide margin.
The Nordiques had 2 first-rounders that year. They took Brian Fogarty with their first pick and Joe Sakic with their second pick. But if these same players were eligible to be drafted this year, I don't think there's much doubt who would go #1 overall.
You got that right.
Nolan gets back into his own zone to break up a passing play. Now he goes to the bench, and Norris comes on in a penalty-killing role. 23 seconds remaining in the Quebec penalty. Norm McIver works his way out slowly. Metzcash got spun around. Now over to Daig. Daig has Yashin trailing. Daig goes in deep, throws it back to the net for Troy Murray. Back to Daig for Yashin. Yashin was stopped from directly in front after taking a nice feed from Daig.
Yashin parked perfectly in front of the net, not right in front, off and out to the side. Daig laid a real beauty flat for him, and Snow was equal to the task.
Team's back at full strength. Norris is checked at the line. The loose puck picked up by Lapointe. Lapointe having some problems getting away from a check. Krupp helps out, pushing the puck to the corner. Taken there by Deadmarsh, a backhand shot. And Lapointe was looking for it, but Metzcash knocked it away, and it was dumped down the ice. 2:29 remaining in the opening period. 3-2. Quebec leads Ottawa. Here comes Sakic, but Kovalenko was offside. The Nordique program, Joe Sakic will be featured, playing in his 495th National Hockey League game this afternoon. And he's only 25 years of age. Cunnyworth moves it ahead for McElwain. McElwain flipped it towards the net. Cunnyworth couldn't get there as he was tied up by Finn. Finn has it again in the corner. His attempt to move it around the boards took a bad hop and almost came directly out in front of Garth Snow. Now Kovalenko starts away. He has Finn moving up behind him. Finn goes back to the net for Kovalenko. He couldn't get a shot away. To the point. Uwe Krupp with a shot. That goes off a leg. Finn back at the other point. He lets a shot go. It's blocked by Cunnyworth, and it's knocked out to center ice. Cunnyworth lost his stick in the collision, and he gloved it ahead, and when it was touched by a teammate, the whistle went.
Well, Randy Cunnyworth doing a great job on Stephen Finn. You don't often see Finn to the edge that you're looking for. Good play by Randy Cunnyworth, the Senators captain.
1:26 remaining in the opening period. 3-2 Quebec lead. And an interference penalty is being called behind the play, and it looks as though it will be LaRouche heading to the penalty box.
Well, you be the judge as Ricci goes into the boards. LaRouche gets a 2-minute interference penalty. You see lots that are very similar to that. You have determines whether it's going to be a penalty or not.
You know, you talked about 5-goal games. Alexei Zhamnov with 5 last night against Los Angeles. Mike Ricci had a 5-goal game a year ago against the San Jose Sharks. The highlight of his career as far as a single game performance is concerned.
Well, he also had a stretch this year, Don, where he had 5 goals in games that he only got 1 shot a game. So I don't know whether you can tie those two things together or not. But the moral of the story is you shoot the puck more and you get more goals.
Forsberg in front for Nolan. Nolan has been shooting it from every angle. And he's got 2 goals. One he really didn't shoot, but it still went in the net. We're looking for Forsberg, who had moved into the slot. The puck never got to him.
Well, Phil Bourque does a nice job in firing the puck down the ice. It's great when a coach has a guy he can put on forward or on defense at will. Bowness has that in Bourque.
Kept onside by Lefebvre. Forsberg battles for it. He frees it for Nolan. Nolan in front. Kovalenko was standing right there but couldn't redirect it. Nolan has it again. Nolan goes cross ice to Forsberg in the slot. Kovalenko, a backhand shot. And the save is made by Beaupre. Back to Lefebvre. He throws it into the corner. McIver tries to put it up high in the glass. Cut off by Forsberg, and then finally it's flipped down the ice by McIlwain as the horn sounds to end the opening period.
Well, the Nordiques end up by a goal at the end of this first period and leave the rink with a good feeling. Some excellent puck movement on that last power play opportunity takes them into the dressing room, knowing that if they continue to play the same way, they can come out of this hockey game with 2 points.
The Ottawa Senators. Larouche with his first ever National Hockey League goal in the opening period and a penalty. And he watches now as Quebec sets up. Sakic getting set, fakes the shot behind his back. Centering attempt by Forsberg is grabbed and held by Don Beaupre. Now let's join Ken Daniels as he talks with Troy Murray.
Troy Murray, I guess it's not the type of period you wanted to get into with the Quebec Nordiques.
No, we certainly game with.
Finn shoots it in. Pitlick goes back after it. He takes a hit from Lapointe. Puck is moved up along the boards and it's deflected out of play. 15:06 remaining in the second.
Up there, and it surprises me that it can get up here this quickly.
Well, perhaps some of the fans in Quebec City are hoping to provide the spectators at the Coliseum preview of what they might see late in the month of June. There's a fair bit of optimism regarding the chances of this Quebec hockey team perhaps winning the Stanley Cup in this abbreviated 1995 season. Day puts it to the corner. He and Yashin are being bothered as they try to move in. Rink-wide pass is beyond the reach of Corbeil. Again, a pass intended for Daig is intercepted, fired right back in. Ottawa will try again. A neat little pass for Yashin. He has Gaudreau with him. Yashin is tied up by Lefebvre. Crawford wants to keep Lefebvre out there most times against this Yashin-Daig line, and so far, with the last change, he's had that defensive pairing out there of Basichin and Lefebvre against Ottawa's #1 unit.
Now this line getting involved a little bit physically. Well, Lefebvre has been without question the best defenseman. Even if you expect them to be scorers most of the time, it makes a heck of a difference when the rest of your guys on the bench see the players that are the finessers, are the skill players more often. Getting involved, you stand up for them that much more.
Adam Denmarsh, a #1 draft pick in the penalty box, as Mark Crawford saw his rookie go off with sophomore Alexei Yashin of the Ottawa Senators. So they're playing 4 skaters aside with 14:08 remaining in the second period. 3-2, Quebec leads Ottawa. Position, the top plus-minus player at +24 in the NHL. Moved it over to Uwe Krupp. Krupp dumps it to the corner. Back after it goes Dahlquist. Dahlquist moving out slowly, puts it ahead to McIlwain. McIlwain crosses with Bourque, dumps it to the corner. The two almost collided. Gar Snow tried to play it out, and Dahlquist picked it up inside the Quebec line, but had some problems controlling it, so had to take it back out to center. Position now. Over to Kamensky. Kamensky has Sakic crossing with him. Sakic takes the pass, a quick release, and the save is made by Beaupre. Now it's Bourque. Coming away with McIlwain. Bourque going deep on Lefebvre. Throws it out front. It's knocked away from Pitlick, and back comes Sakic. Racing down the left side, Kamensky takes the lead pass. Scores!
What a great play by Joe Sakic. He made an excellent opportunity turned into a scoring chance going down the ice, but this pass is just a beauty as he lays it completely rink wide. Now you have to give Kamensky credit for this outstanding move, but Sakic is the guy that gives his line mate this chance. A pass that was 100 feet laid to an area gives the big Russian his opportunity to jump in all alone. Beaupre followed as far across as he could, but left about 6 inches on the outside that Kamensky ended up finishing the play with. What a play by Sakic.
And Kamensky finished it off, his 7th goal of the season. Owen Nolan, who has scored twice, leaves it for Lefebvre. Nolan goes to the net. The pass is behind Forsberg. Forsberg works into the slot area, back to Lefebvre. His shot, that's just wide. Nolan gets it off the end boards. Nolan dumps in the corner with Netzcash, and Netzcash is able to come up with the puck ahead to LaRouche. LaRouche was looking for Picard, but it was deflected into the Ottawa bench with 12:29 remaining in the second.
76. Bowness edged Crawford out in the points department, 55-50. Crawford had Bowness in the penalty minutes by about 40 minutes, 229-191.
Young steals it in the corner, back to the point to Lefebvre. He winds up, the puck on edge, it bounces high. And Beaupre wasn't sure where it was, and with a group of players charging to the net, it winds up underneath the Ottawa goaltender. The last Quebec goal, Kamensky is 7th from Sakic and Laukkanen at 6:53.
He tried to bank it from behind the net off of Beaupre and in, but Beaupre was quick enough to get back there with his pad and stop that. For strong on his feet, and when he gets the puck, as you just saw, he protects it so very, very well.
LaRouche with a long shot left there for Leschyshyn. Forsberg comes back to help out for Basson. Uwe Krug. He fires into the corner, picked up off the boards by Basson. A weak shot. Knocked away by Beaupre, and back comes Ottawa. Lead pass intended for Elnick beyond his reach. Snow way out of his net. Elnick out front. Picard couldn't get a shot away as he was checked by Uwe Krug. Forsberg to the attack. Forsberg gets away from Netzcash out front for Nolan, and Nolan was checked by McIver. Here's Elnick trying to feed it through for Picard, broken up by Nolan. Netzcash goes into the corner with him, takes the puck away from the man who has scored 2 goals this afternoon. McIver gets to center ice, fires a weak shot in on Snow. 8:50 remaining in the period, 4-2 Quebec leading. The Nordiques with the best overall record in the National Hockey League. Ottawa with just 4 wins on the season. Quebec here in the Coliseum, losing just once this year. A 7-5 loss to Pittsburgh. Won 13 and tied 1. Yashin couldn't go anywhere. Picked up by Gaudreau. Back of the net. Centers it. Fired wide by Day. Dahlquist pitches in from the point. Dahlquist tried to cut out front, lost control of the puck. Now Scott Young tried to clear, can't. Kept in at the point by Day. Yashin leaves it there. Day throws it in front, blocked by Ricci. Ricci gets away from a check. Now 3 of them come to center ice. Ricci in across the line. The point and Young go for the net. The pass didn't get through. 7:50 remaining in the second period. Yale tried to put it off the glass to take it out of the zone, but put it instead into the crowd out of play. Joe Sakic, who will be featured in our second intermission, out there now for Ottawa, or for Quebec, a goal and an assist so far this afternoon. Bork along the boards, frees it for McIlwain. He dumped it to the corner. It's left back of the net for Kovalenko. He can't clear. Cut off by Bial. Centering pass. They score! McIlwain took the shot, and it may have bounced in off Phil Bork, who was being tied up at the side of the net.
Good eye, Witt. A quick centering pass by Randy Cunnyworth. McIlwain is just floating into the slot. And Bork is just out to the side of the net. Take a look here as the shot happens so quickly. And it's going wide. Once again, the advantage of going to the net. This replay will show it perfectly. Bork comes in from the side. Kovalenko has him, but not quite enough. Got to keep everybody to the outside if at all possible. And directing pucks in net pays off for Ottawa.
Phil Bork's third goal of the year cuts the deficit in half with 7:18 remaining in the second period. Pennyworth and McElwain draw the assists on the goal by Phil Bork. Now Bork has a pass picked off at the blue line by Nolan. Nolan tried to fight off a check, but he was being double teamed. Nolan dumps Vial in the corner behind the play, and that drew a reaction from the fans. Now Uwe Krupp moves it ahead to Nolan. He simply redirects it into Ottawa territory. Hoffman goes back after it. He's being chased and pressured. McElwain shovels it out to center ice, and back after it is Uwe Krupp. Lesishin throws it rink wide for Nolan. Nolan has a pass picked off by McElwain, and the Ottawa Senators make a change as Lesishin goes back after it. For Corbeil. Corbeil tried to feed it ahead for Detmarsh. It was broken up by Ottawa, and Lesishin has to chase it down in his own zone. Detmarsh skates to the Ottawa blue line, feeds it in front for Corbeil, and a fine save. The rebound fired wide by Norris. Beaupré came sliding across to make the save. The rebound was fired wide, and there's a penalty call on the play.
Donnie Beaupré started his career with the Minnesota North Stars and keeps Ottawa within a goal after Bork's goal to make it 4-3.
A hooking penalty against rookie Radek Bonk, who has not fulfilled the expectations many had for the young man when he signed the long-term contract with the Senators.
Well, here's the hooking penalty that Bonk took. Now, talking to a couple of people that coached Bonk in Czechoslovakia, the one common comment was that he probably came over a little too early, that he could have used another year at home developing his skills and his strength, and that his stint in Las Vegas and now early on with Ottawa have not been real beneficial to his development. But time will tell whether that is right as well.
Ricci leaves it in the corner for Young. Quebec leading by a goal on the power play. Kamensky takes his time, looking to set something up, tried to feed it in front. It goes to Sakic. He shoots. He was firing into a crowd, and it deflected off a skate. Laukkanen gets it over to Young. Back to Laukkanen. Laukkanen for Sakic. Sakic moves in close, looks to the point. Laukkanen fakes the shot, back to Sakic. He shoots. Beaupré made the save. Beaupré simply stood his ground at the short side, and there was no room for the puck to squeeze through. Kamensky at the side of the net. Young back to Kamensky, to the point. Laukkanen one times it, he hit the post. Troy Murray manages to push the puck out to center ice, using a good job of protecting the puck with his body. Now Young moves in deep. Murray is hacking away at him. Young kicks it free for Ricci. Ricci makes a hit from behind from Dahlquist in the corner. Now it's picked up and dumped down the ice by McElwain. 44 seconds remaining in the Bonk penalty. Nolan couldn't control it. Netzcash drives it the length of the ice. .429 the time left in the period. 4-3 is the score. Senators at the play broken up at the blue line. Krupp in a race for the puck with McElwain. The big defenseman gets there first, dodges a check from Cunnyworth. 16 seconds remaining in the Bonk penalty. Forsberg drives it in. Nolan races to the corner after it. He and Cunnyworth collide. Forsberg comes in trying to help out. Nolan gets the puck. Nolan tried to work his way to the net. Lost control of it. Nolan gets it again. Ottawa back at full strength with Bonk out of the penalty box. Now it's Daigle coming away with Bonk. The two of them to the line. It's left there for Bonk. Bonk moves in, shoots. The rebound. They score! Gaudreau may have got there after Bonk took the shot, and the big rebound came out to the side of the net.
Well, Bonk makes a great second effort here on this goal as he's come out of the penalty box. Dig, a second effort as well, right here at the blue line to keep the puck moving forward. Watch Bonk drive to the net after he shoots. He's on his way in and just beats McElwain to the puck. A great effort, and a second one at that by Bonk, who some people have questioned without doubt, and with good reason as well. Finds his way to the net and scores his second of the year to tie this hockey game.
Gaudreau and Bonk both went towards the loose puck, but Bonk was able to fight off the check of Kovalenko to get his second goal of the season. And this game is tied at 4 with 3:26 remaining in the second period. Here comes Dave now with Yashin. Yashin puts on the brakes, lost control of it. Lefebvre moves it ahead to Deadmarsh. Behind his back to Basson. Basson scores!
A tough break for Ottawa. They fought their way back in this game a couple of times now this afternoon. But watch Bobby Basson as he moves north and shoots south. This is a great trait to have if you're a player at any level. Basson is fading off to the side. Nobody's quite sure as to whether he might try to go wide or pass it, but he gets the quick shot, perfectly placed and released in a hurry. Gives Quebec back a 1-goal lead.
Well, in just under 8 periods now, Quebec has scored 21 goals against Ottawa.
I used to love playing games like this on the outdoor rink, with the last thing you'd say was, last goal wins.
Then the guy with the puck would end the game by heading home.
That's right.
Basson from Deadmarsh and Lefebvre. Bonk from Dave and Cunneyworth on the Ottawa goal. The puck centered, but nobody was in position. It slides all the way back. Netzcash goes after it, being watched by Young. And an injured player, the card.
Be for you.
For sure, it was a big disappointment because things were going pretty well for me and the team. The team was pretty big.
A shootout, 5-4. Quebec leads. Michel Picard was injured behind the play, but was able to get up and skate off to the Ottawa bench.
Well, Quebec is one of a handful of teams this year that uses both goalies almost equally coming into the game tonight. This afternoon, Thibault had played 16 for set 20.
Kovalenko feeds it back to the point. Laukkanen winds up at the side of the net. Kamensky was looking to redirect it, but he was being tied up by Huffman. Now Cunneyworth leaves it there for Bourque. Bourque gets it across to the point to Vial. Vial moving in, couldn't get a shot away. Cunneyworth was knocked down at the side of the net, lost his stick. Now he retrieves it, but the play starts the other way. Sakic to the attack. Kamensky moving up. So is Kovalenko. Kovalenko tried to go back to Kamensky. Kamensky was checked. Cunneyworth involved with Kamensky, broke his stick as he collided with Kamensky, and the fans reacted. So Cunneyworth first lost his stick at one end and then broke it at the other end. 1:49 remaining in the second period. Here's Nolan getting the puck. The save by Beaupré as Nolan grabbed that rolling puck, and from the hash marks let a good shot go that Beaupré grabbed. During the second intermission, we'll hear and Fred.
So watch this, you'll see Fred as well.
I think every horse that hauls tourists around in Quebec in the caleche is called Fred.
Doesn't matter whether it's Quebec City or whether it's New York City. The horses are all called Fred. Can never go wrong. It's kind of like Grover for a dog.
Radek Bonk dishes it off, left there for Levens. Levens with a backhand shot. Gets his own rebound. Working against Nolan. Now into the corner for Bonk. Bonk behind the net. A wraparound try, and Snow makes the save.
Well, we've seen the technique that Gar Snow just displayed on the wraparound by Bonk, picked up by a lot of different goalies now. Some goaltender coaches like it, and many do not. This Krupp has adjusted his stick. The shaft that comes off the paddle now is curved so that he can lay more of his hand flat on the ice. As I say, some guys like it, some guys don't. It worked on that play for Snow, and for others, you get foiled.
I think Andy Moog is the only goaltender who uses a stick with that curve.
Now, I haven't looked at too many of them. A lot of goalies have got those idiosyncrasies, but you know, Don, you never want to question a goalie too much. They do things sometimes without reason. You're a good example of that, I think.
Many things without reason. Levens fires it to the corner. After it goes Murray. Murray behind the net to Bonk. Bonk trying to fight off the check of Lannon. He's tied up, and in the process, they hold the puck against the boards for a face-off.
Now, we haven't seen a whole lot of this afternoon, and defensemen taking their opponent to the boards and keeping him there. This game has been fairly free-flowing. Shots 32-18 in favor of the Nordiques. Can't help but enjoy watching Quebec as they pass the puck around. Rink-wide passes, pinpoint passes, and also from the point, you'll notice a lot of the time when these defensemen are shooting, they're not shooting at the net, they're shooting for deflections. And when you have confidence, you do that a lot easier. When you're the Ottawa Senators, you're trying to make a simple play all the time, directed at the net, crash and bang, hoping you can get a goal or two here and again to give yourself some confidence and your team a little bit more jump. It's amazing how much better that can allow you to feel when you hit the ice.
McIver cuts off a clearing attempt. HNIC for Picard. Picard leaves it in the corner for HNIC. Now to LaRouche. 39 seconds remaining in the period. 138 remaining in the penalty to Lapointe. Here's Picard moving in. Tried to fake Snow out of position. Now it's Picard for HNIC. Back to the point to McIver. McIver's shot high off the glass. Gaudreau back to the net for Picard to LaRouche. He leaves it for Picard. Picard for McIver. He scores! McIver came sneaking in from the point. Picard spotted him, and the game is tied. A power play goal for Norm McIver.
Well, I've been very impressed with Picard and LaRouche this afternoon. Picard made a great play on Snow, trying to open up his legs a little earlier, and that didn't work. But as McIver sneaks in here, Picard sees him all the way. And McIver, who was instrumental in the Oilers' power play a couple of years ago before he came here, does exactly the same thing on this play. Jumps in, reads the seam, and then releases the puck in a heartbeat for his fourth, for the Senators' fifth of this afternoon. And that ties the game and gives Ottawa some needed momentum going into frame number 3.
Both coaches who talked about lowering their team's goals against averages this season won't be happy with the way this one has gone today. In other action this afternoon, as we take a look at the NHL scoreboard, a number of afternoon games, and this one is by far the wildest scoring affair. No results yet from the other games. So the second period comes to an end with the Quebec Nordiques and the Ottawa Senators in a 5-5 tie. A wild scoring affair here at McDonald's.
Well, Don, you mentioned about coaches wanting to tighten up their game. I think in this particular instance, it's a little bit like going on a diet. You say, well, we'll do that tomorrow. Have a couple more donuts and enjoy this one, guys. Have a good time. Because tomorrow we're going to get serious about defense. You see Joel Quenneville giving Bobby Basson a little instruction as he goes off the ice. When you do something wrong or right, it's best to know about it right away, and that's what Quenneville was doing.
And right now, of the Winter Olympic Games coming here, and the city of Quebec is very much in contention. 5 goals for the Ottawa Senators. That equals their highest production of the year. They were involved in a 5-5 tie with Washington back in the 23rd of February. The Senators, the lowest scoring team in the National Hockey League, including this afternoon's game. They've only scored 70 goals this year. Centering pass. Deadmarsh threw it out front, and Basson couldn't get a stick on it. Now Day, taken in against the boards by Wolanin as Lefebvre goes back after the puck, tries to put it high in the glass and puts it out of play instead.
Well, the Senators should have some snap coming into this third period after having fought back from a 2-goal deficit. It's been a seesaw battle and very, very wide open, but with Ottawa particularly scoring with only a half a dozen seconds remaining in the second, they should feel pretty good about things right now.
Kamensky staked the Nordique to a 2-goal lead, and then Bourque and Bonk were able to come back for the Ottawa Senators. Basson regained a 1-goal advantage before McIver tied it late in the period on the power play, and we stand tied at 5. As third period play is just nicely underway. Rink-wide pass too far for Lapointe. Pitlick goes back after it. Lapointe's on him. Over to Dahlquist. Dahlquist tried to move it up along the boards. Kept in by Finn. Pitlick goes back after it. Lapointe goes into forecheck, but Pitlick clears the zone. It's driven right back in by Quebec. Both Lapointe and Young are in deep forechecking for Quebec. The puck takes a strange bounce off the boards. Pitlick again trying to get it out of there, and with some help from Elnick, he succeeds. Picard couldn't go anywhere with it. This Young line, 2 players called up from Prince Edward Island, LaRouche and Picard, combined with Pat Elnick, has been very effective this afternoon for Ottawa. Cunnyworth wasn't sure where the puck was, moved it across to McElwain. He shoots it in. Back after it goes Lecition. Cunnyworth took a swipe at it, but the puck had come out across the blue line, and it was offside.
Well, Don, let's take a look at what we have as far as playoff races in the eastern side of the National Hockey League. Quebec and Philadelphia leading their respective divisions. On the right side of this screen, the main discontender there is the Montreal Canadiens. Back-to-back games against Les Nordiques on the 5th and 6th of April will have a huge impact as to whether they stay on the right side of their screen or whether they move into playoff contention on the other side. And if they do not, well, Provence will have something to say about that.
Hoffman races after the puck one-handed. He tries to push it towards the net, and Snow is able to make an easy save. Bill Bourque checked at center ice. It's flipped high by Viel. Back after it goes Lecition. He moves it ahead to Forsberg, looking for Nolan. Broken up at the blue line. Nolan perseveres. Tried to center. It comes back to the line to Wolanin. Wolanin shoots. Beaupre with the save as he came out of the net to challenge, and then the puck is cleared over the glass and into the crowd.
Well, Ottawa is pulled back into a bit of a shell here after tying this game up in the dying seconds of the second period. Greg Wolanin has just signed a multi-year contract with Les Nordiques on the 8th of March. As he gets a shot a little bit higher than what he would like here. Beaupre stops the puck. You see how quickly he gets back up on his feet. Good goaltenders react so fast. As soon as the puck has hit them, most of the time they're up and ready to take a rebound if necessary, clear the puck, whatever course of action required.
Sakic from the faceoff drove right to the net. Beaupre kicked it to the corner. Wolanin pinches in from the point. Netzcash battles with Kovalenko in the corner. Netzcash comes up with the puck. He leaves it there for Troy Murray, and Murray skates it out to center ice before shooting it in, and then he's knocked in against the boards by Kovalenko. Yashin and Sakic battle in the corner. The puck is still loose. Kovalenko comes in to help out. He takes a hit from Murray. The puck goes back into the Quebec corner. Now Kovalenko tries to rip it around the board, succeeds in getting it to Kamensky, to Sakic. He flips it to the corner in the Ottawa zone. Back after it is Dahlquist. Kamensky in forechecking, but it's taken away from him by Troy Murray. Under pressure, he simply flips it high to center ice. Talked about checking, tightening up in this third period. It's far from the wide open style that we saw in the first 40 minutes of this hockey game.
Well, the first 40 were very, very entertaining, but Ottawa now realizing they have a chance to get some points have changed their style of game 180 degrees. Finishing checks a little bit more, keeping Quebec to the outside and jamming the net.
Pat Elnick was jamming the net as the shot came from the point by Dahlquist that hit a player in front. Back comes Ottawa again. Here's a pass for Picard. Picard looking for Elnick, and the puck goes off a body and slides right to the goal mouth with snow covering up for a whistle.
Expansion team, you have to have a positive outlook and a short memory. Ottawa has not been able to win any games of those 16 when they've allowed more than 4 goals. Here's an opportunity for them to put some points in that win column when they have allowed more than 4, with 5 so far this afternoon.
McIver flipped it in high. Yashin couldn't reach it. Now Nolan picks it up. His rink-wide pass bounces off a stick. He goes after the puck himself and then dumps it to the corner with Netskash going back after it. Netskash is hit. Out front for Boston for Nolan. He's got the hat trick.
And Nolan got a couple of goals on strange plays, and then he had a couple of great scoring chances where both plays stopped him. But he causes this goal here by taking the body and then coming back to the front of the net. All 3 members of the line involved. The check's happening behind the net. Watch Nolan come out on the left side of your screen. Bobby Basson with a very heads-up play. Patience, discipline, and composure, and some instigation on the part of Nolan generated that scoring chance, resulted in the goal. And 5 minutes into the third period, this crowd gets lively again as the Nordiques take their 4th lead of the hockey game.
Well, Nolan created the turnover, and then he finished off the job with a fine pass from Basson. Now it's the point. He fires wide. At center ice, Young for Lapointe. Lapointe, backhand shot. Went after the rebound, and it was smothered by goaltender Don Beaupre. Nolan from Basson and Forsberg at 4:40 of the third period, breaking a 5-5 tie. Nolan with 3 goals this afternoon, now 2 ahead of Jaromir Jagr as far as goal scoring is concerned in the National Hockey League. Bernie Nichols, Alexei Zhamnov, and Theron Fleury all with 22 goals. 5 behind the current scoring leader.
Well, Nolan has really put the heat on. He now has 15 goals, 6 assists for 21 points in his last 11 games. Remember, last year this guy missed 78 games and had to have shoulder surgery. So quite a turnaround season for Owen Nolan.
A race for a loose puck. Picked off now by Picard. LaRouche was enforcing the play. LaRouche back to the net. Taken in against the boards by Finn. Picard had lost his stick and couldn't take the passes. In the corner, he was tied up by Uwe Krug. Now Kovalenko moves it along the boards for Kamensky. Pitlick got back in time. Sakic throws it rink wide. Finn had to let it go because Kamensky was in across the blue line. 6-5, Quebec leads as Picard goes to the attack. He's stopped and Kamensky starts back. Kamensky slipped it between an Ottawa's player's legs but couldn't pick it up. Now it's brought in by LaRouche, but Picard was ahead of the play offside. A great deal of confidence being shown in LaRouche and Picard by Coach Rick Bowness. They were recalled from Prince Edward Island on Thursday. They hoped to play in Buffalo, but their equipment didn't arrive, so they were scratched from the lineup, but they accompanied the team to Quebec City, and both are getting plenty of ice time.
Well, the toughest challenge that Bowness has, in my opinion, is to take away excuses that are automatically built in for the Senators. They've got a young team, and anytime they're in a close game, and this is a good example, there's a tendency to believe that you've already done enough. Jeepers, we were close. We had Quebec 5-5 into the third, when you got to find a way to get guys saying, we want to win that game, and we're prepared to do almost anything to do that. That comes slowly, takes time.
Norris with a shot from a sharp angle. Metcalf gets it over to McIver. Up to Cunnyworth, the captain of this Ottawa team. He throws it rink wide for McElwain, being trailed by Bork. Left for Bork in the corner. Bork moves out front, looks to the point for McIver, and Deadmarsh covered him and deflected it back to center. 13:23 remaining in the third. 6-5. Quebec leads, and the Nordiques go to the attack. Positions, long shots, steered wide. Cunnyworth flips it out to McElwain. Coming in on Wolanin. His shot goes off the Quebec defenseman's pad into the corner. Now Basson races into the far corner. He leads the attack for Quebec, is checked at the line by Cunnyworth. Wolanin will take no chances. He'll simply clear. It's driven right back in by Huffman. Left behind the net for Wolanin. 6-5. Quebec leads. 12:44 remaining in the third period. Another strange bounce out of the corner, and Garth Snow was prepared for it. Yashin manages to control it in the corner. Then he's checked. Lefebvre flips it up along the boards, and Basson will get it out to Nolan. Driven right back in by Daigle, who takes a hit on the back of the head from Nolan and lost his helmet in the process.
Well, that's that mean streak that Joe Sakic talked about with Ron McLean in the second intermission. Nolan taking a poke at the young Ottawa superstar. Daigle, doesn't matter what number he's wearing, Nolan will take a crack at him.
So with 12:01 remaining, Quebec leads by 1.
Week on City Beat, all entertainment is all about.
Going down to the wire on both sides, east and west. Edmonton, San Jose, Winnipeg, and Anaheim right now out of the house with 27 points is the last one sneaking in. Remember, wins is the tiebreaker.
Los Angeles moving into playoff contention. Here's a wraparound try by Ricci, and the move of the Kings up in the Western Conference standings coinciding with Wayne Gretzky returning to much better form. Here's a shot by Dahlquist, puck loose right in the crease, and Dahlquist can't believe that that one didn't go in.
Chris Dahlquist was signaling that it was a goal, but a quick washout sign by the referee said no. Now, Dahlquist was working on his sticks before the game, Don, and we were kidding with him that he was going to double his output. There's the backhand. Watch where it falls. It bounces back about as close as you can get. But Garth Snow, the vacuum cleaner, pulled it in just in time. The handy-dandy net cam will allow us to see the puck bouncing along the crease, I think. Nope, just missed. I can remember when those net cams came in, we were playing in Long Island, and they asked if we could put it behind Reggie Lemelin. So they put it in for the warm-up, and the guys kept shooting pucks at it, ended up breaking the thing, and it didn't come back for a while.
Here's a shot from the point, and the save made by Garth Snow as McIver let a blistering shot go.
Well, Ottawa's picking up the pace a little bit after coming back in the last few seconds of the second period. I thought they'd come out with lots of jump in the third, but they became a little bit tentative, I think, happy for the tie and perhaps not playing for the win. Now, back a goal, they've increased the intensity a bit. Let's see if they can step it up another notch and tie this hockey game again.
11:30 is the time remaining. Metcalf being chased by Sakic, plays it up along the boards. Elnick is tied up by Kovalenko. Metcalf stays with Sakic as they continue the battle along the boards. Finally, it's flipped out by LaRouche. Now Metcalf moves it across to McIver. Back to Elnick. Elnick banks it off the boards, and he gets it out of the zone. Kovalenko is looking to pick it off. Shoot-in attempt hits the linesman. Laukkanen gets it again. Laukkanen feeds it into the slot. Nobody there, and it's dumped the length of the ice. And this will be an icing call against the Senators.
Well, the Ottawa Senators on the road have not had much luck at all, and the other Crawford can come into each game at home having such a great road or home record, rather. I think back to my first few years in Calgary at the old Corral. I think our first year we only lost 4 games at home. And when you get in the playoffs and you're down a game here or there, it just gives you a little bit of extra confidence that is immeasurable. Crawford wants to keep that home record with only the one loss going into playoffs guaranteed.
Passon is checked. Forsberg has the puck. He's trying to get away from Gaudreau. It goes back to the net for Nolan. Nolan with 3 goals this afternoon. Now Forsberg steals. Nolan gets it. A backhand try. And that was kicked out by Beaupré. He did a good job of simply standing his ground against Forsberg and Nolan as both were trying to slip it past him from close range. Yashin and Molanin race for the puck. Lefebvre also comes back to help out. Now he sends Forsberg on his way. Rink-wide pass. Corbet got turned around, and Yashin starts back. Gets away from Finn. Daig goes to the corner. Daig looking to center. Now decides to flip it back to the net to Gaudreau. Gaudreau and Yashin collide as the two of them went in behind the Quebec net. Nolan starts out slowly. He dumps it in. He goes off. Dahlquist just got it out into the center ice area. The Nordiques fire it right back in. Now it's Norris. For Deadmarsh, a centering pass. And Corbet was knocked down and then knocked into the Ottawa goal. Work for Dahlquist. Dahlquist dumps it to the corner as he takes a hit from Finn. Ottawa now making another change. McElwain is in forechecking. Lapointe banks it off the boards. Huffman having some problems knocking it down. Gets it over to Vial. He plays it to an open wing. And Lapointe is there for Quebec. 9:03 remaining in the third period. Quebec protecting a 1-goal lead. Here's Cunnyworth ahead for McElwain just beyond his reach. Now Bourque gets it in the corner. Bourque looks up front, goes to McElwain. He centers it. It's loose in the crease. Back to Huffman. Huffman drives it in behind the net. McElwain centers. Nobody there. Vial racing in from the point. Checked by Lapointe. Cunnyworth helps out. He fires it wide. The puck at the side of the net. Knocked to the corner now by Snow. Finally picked up by Lapointe. He starts away for Young. Young tried to slide it through for Lapointe. He was being tied up by Vial, who bumps it up along the boards, but not out. Kept in by Young. Young with a long backhand shot right on. Beaupré grabs it and holds it for a face-off with 8:17 left in the game.
There's a decision that has to be made whether to let him have his way or push him into your goalie. And Beaupré doesn't like the result of the decision, but perhaps it saved a goal. As Yashin drives Corbet into Beaupré, he goes down, but a shot or scoring chance does not result.
Kamensky into the corner after it. Back to the point to Laukkonen. Laukkonen lets a shot go, and that deflected just wide. Now it's the Senators with McIver getting to the blue line. He's checked there. Murray picked the puck out of the air, dropped it in his skates, tries to kick it along the boards. He has two members of the Nordiques on top of him, and finally it's pushed back into the Quebec zone. Laukkonen gets it ahead to Kamensky. He leaves it for Sakic. Sakic for Kovalenko, and he was checked by Netskash. And there's going to be a penalty here as he went crashing into Beaupré, and Beaupré appears to be hurt.
Well, Sakic isn't happy at all at the call. Donnie Beaupré is not moving at all as Bonk has a little conversation with him. He'll be the judge as to whether Kovalenko tried to or not. Kovalenko is on his tail right about the top of the crease. Kovalenko gets 2 for interfering with the goalie. You see what he thinks of it.
And I think his team Netskash.
Well, this angle might give us a better look. Sakic is great at putting the puck to the area. Kovalenko is driving to the net, but he ends up on his tail. The only question would be is if the referee strength of his skating and the load that he can carry. And you see the way on that play as well, where Sakic lays the puck across. He did it to Kamensky. Give Kamensky a goal for the Nordiques. And he just tried to do it with Kovalenko as well. He's great at passing to an open area. Crawford says he uses Sakic more than anybody, and he particularly uses timeouts in hockey games and commercial breaks. Likes to have Sakic on either side of those because he can take the workload. That means that he's got his best player on the ice a little bit more than he otherwise would if he didn't take advantage of those breaks.
Well, after some treatment, Beaupre is able to continue as Ottawa now goes to the power play. And the fans certainly did not like the call on Kovalenko. They are continuing to boo as Ottawa, with the extra attacker out there, brings it in across the line. Picard leaves it in the corner for LaRouche. Elnick can't get to the loose puck, and away comes Forsberg with Nolan. Nolan has a shorthanded goal this afternoon. Among the three that he has scored, Forsberg's shot goes up over the glass, out of play. Well, wherever you live, Vancouver at Calgary.
Well, if you want to hear the crowd really get into this game, what Ottawa's got to do is score on this power play advantage. You know, there's different times in a game, Don, where you're presented with an opportunity to get back in the game, and you sometimes don't realize it until the opportunity is passed or the game is over. Well, Ottawa has got a great chance right now. They've got 1 minute and 26 seconds remaining in the penalty to Kovalenko, 6 minutes and 57 seconds remaining in the third. A power play chance for almost 1.5 minutes to tie this hockey game up, see if they can get some jump and get a victory in Quebec and some retribution for an 11-4 hammering at the hands of the Nordiques less than a week ago.
It's Picard trying to center. It goes off through. Young can't get it out. Picard controls in the corner. Picard still has it. Takes a return pass. Looks again for LaRouche. LaRouche back to Picard. These two players called up from Prince Edward Island, familiar with each other. Now it's Huffman. Over to Elnick. Elnick moving in. Takes the shot. It's blocked by Lesishin. And then Lesishin hammers Picard into the boards. Hoffman pinching in from the point, kept it onside, but now it's brought out by Young. He's in with Ricci. Young getting set, shoots and fires wide. Ricci fights off a check. One-handed is trying to control it in the corner. Then he and LaRouche get their sticks up against each other, but there's no whistle on the play. Dumped to the corner, racing after it is Day. He comes up with it. Day works his way back to the line, now leaves it for Gaudreau. He's checked. Wolanin tried to flip it up high, and it goes out of play with 8 seconds remaining in the Kovalenko penalty.
Well, just as you want to seize that opportunity when you're down by a goal, you want to recognize it when you're up by a goal as well. And I thought that the defensemen, particularly Lesishin and Krupp, did a great job on this last power play opportunity to make a big difference in keeping Ottawa to the outside. Now Ricci grabs on to the stick of LaRouche here. If the last penalty hadn't been called, now he disguises it pretty well because he's in the middle, but that last slap to LaRouche could easily have been a penalty had this one not already been called in Kovalenko for interference with the goaltender.
And they're going to rule that that shoot-in went over the glass and bounced back onto the playing surface from the timekeeper's bench. 1 second remaining in the penalty to Kovalenko. Mark Crawford has not seen his team lose back-to-back games all year. They're coming off a 6-4 loss on Friday night to Washington, but they're hoping to get back on a winning track again this afternoon against Ottawa, protecting a 1-goal lead with 5:30 remaining in the third period.
Consistency is so important, and when you can say over the course of a season, even if it's only 48 games, that you don't lose 2 in a row, it means you've had a great year.
The fave shot deflects up into the crowd. Next Saturday, skiing and speed skating on CBC Sports next Saturday afternoon, beginning at 3 Eastern Time. Hoffman being watched behind his net by Detmarsh. McElwain comes in to help out. This is Pitlick with the pass, and it's driven right back in by Laukkonen. Now it's Pitlick trying again for Cunningham. He's taken in against the boards. But finally Pitlick gets a second chance after McElwain got knocked down in center ice by Corbet. And it's in the neutral zone with Huffman trying to flip it in, blocked by Lesishin, and he simply fires it down the ice.
Well, Lesishin and Krupp have really been strong here the last half a dozen minutes, and the penalty to Kovalenko. And this last stretch, keeping the puck up and standing up at the blue line. We'll hang around at the end of the hockey game for the Molson 3 Stars as we get a look at the leading goal scorer in the National Hockey League. Right now, Owen Nolan.
27 goals, 7 career hat tricks. Well, I talked about LaRouche and Picard getting a lot of ice time. They have been out there even more than I'm sure they anticipated in this third period.
Well, they've been two of the more noticeable Senators this afternoon, Don. Both of these guys have generated scoring chances and are involved on the score sheet. It's a good feeling when you get called up and can contribute, even if the team is not doing as well as you'd like.
Murray in the slot, a backhand shot by LaRouche. That is deflected high. Picard gets it again. Murray to Picard. Picard at the side of the net is knocked down, and LaRouche tries to get to the puck. And then Finn comes in on top of Picard as Snow covers up the puck.
Well, you can see Quebec getting much more aggressive as this game winds down. 3.5 minutes remaining in the third period. Particularly Quebec's defensemen. They're daring Ottawa to fight for ground in front of the net. Get a load here of what Finn does. The take no prisoners attitude as he gets on top of LaRouche and then finishes things at the side of the net. Watch Finn go in and just make sure that nobody's getting up as well. A little whoopsie-doo, and it goes from there. Quebec wanting to make sure that Ottawa has no interest at all in fighting back in. By the same token, if you're a coach or part of Ottawa's team, you want to be looking at games like this and finding out who is taking an extra step, finding extra effort to get the team back in the game and not just remain close with the best team in the National Hockey League right now.
3:34 remaining. These two teams meet again in Ottawa on Saturday night. Ottawa in a 3-game homestand, Monday to Montreal, Wednesday to New Jersey, and Quebec on Saturday. Quebec is home and home in Montreal Wednesday, back here at Le Coliseum on Thursday against the Canadiens. In this third period, after moving into a 1-goal lead, Quebec is taking no chances in its own zone. They don't try and skate the puck out or make a play coming out. They're simply content to flip it out.
Well, generally it's tough to flick the switch and go from offense to defense. The first couple of periods of this hockey game are about as wide open as you could find. I believe Yashin might be getting a penalty for roughing here. We'll see if that is what takes place. He took a poke at somebody over right by the Nordiques bench, and I thought he had escaped unblemished, but that's not the case. Let's see if our eye in the sky has got it as Lapointe goes to the boards. Watch Yashin's reaction. Little right cross on the chin of Lapointe. And that puts a damper on an attempted comeback. Things out of his hat in order to tie this hockey game.
Well, it has to be extremely frustrating for Rick Bowness and his Ottawa Senators. They play well this afternoon, score 5 goals against Quebec. Unfortunately, they give up 6, but they have had opportunities to get back on even terms in this third period. Haven't been able to pull the trigger. Only 4 wins this year. Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, the New York Islanders, and Buffalo have fallen victim to Quebec, or to Ottawa. Quebec on the power play, in the slot, Nolan, Forsberg. Beaupre stood his ground. Forsberg back to the point. Laukkonen at the side of the net, and Nolan fired it wide. .123 remaining in the penalty to Yashin. Here comes Nolan. He moves it ahead for Kovalenko. Kovalenko whips it around the boards to the other side for Sakic. Sakic takes a hit in the corner, and then a penalty is called as Nolan comes in against Vial, and the two of them drop their gloves, and they're going to go at it. Vial trying to get that right hand free. Now Vial lands a couple of lefts. Nolan connects on a left. The linesman staying out of it, letting the two fire away at each other.
Nolan and Vial had a couple of discussions throughout this game. And this is the way the conversation ended. Well, once again, I talked a little bit earlier on in the game about Yashin and Dig getting involved physically and what it does for the rest of the guys. Same thing for Quebec. You got a guy like Nolan. Sure, he's got a mean streak. Sure, he's bigger, but he's also leading the National Hockey League in goal scoring. When you see that kind of reaction from a guy who's known for scoring goals, you say, well, I guess we all got to pick up our socks in different areas. Vial tripped here as he's trying to readjust his shirt, pulling up the shirt sleeves to go to work, so to speak. And a fair amount of contact there, Whit.
And Nolan was very accommodating as Vial went down and adjusted his sleeve. Assessed against Nolan as well, with still 1:08 remaining in the penalty to Yashin.
Well, that's the right call. Nolan came in with a high stick on Vial to start that. And as I said, they had a couple of discussions earlier on this afternoon. And to stay out, I think you end up getting a lot less mulling around, and you get a better quality of fight when it happens, and that had both of those attributes.
Well, with a 6'2", 210-pounder and a 6'1", 205-pounder going at it, would you want to step in between them?
Well,
and both were throwing them pretty well.
Well, that was a few years ago, Don, on April 2nd. See if you can remember what year it was. Paul Coffey in 1986 scored a couple of goals, his 47th and 48th, to go ahead of Robert Orr, who had 46. Coffey at one stage in that year, in fact, had 138 points in 80 games. Bobby Orr has got the record in Coffey scoring 48 goals in a year.
And people in Detroit are suggesting that Coffey is a leading candidate for the Norris Trophy as the best defenseman in the game again this year.
Leading the league in scoring for a defenseman right now with 39 points. He hasn't slowed up a bit. Talking about fundamentals again, this guy can skate. If you can skate, you can play in the league a long time.
Hoffman broke his stick on the shoot-in. He has to go to the bench, and Ottawa may get trapped. No, he gets back just in time. But Forsberg scores! Forsberg with a long shot from just inside the blue line.
Now this guy has got some tremendous skill. Watch how he chokes up on this shot and brings it right inside the post. A perfect camera angle. Perhaps a bit of a screen by Hoffman, who had just changed to get a stick. Look at the head up on this guy. Takes a quick look. No screen, shoots close to the pad. Didn't have to take the full net, simply blows it past Don Beaupre. And that makes the margin 2 goals. 1 minute and 47 seconds remaining. And then
Pierre Lacroix can put his jacket on and head downstairs. Feeling fairly confident, I'm sure, that Quebec will be able to protect a 2-goal advantage with 1:34 remaining in the third. Forsberg from Kamensky and Lefay, the official on the 7th goal of the hockey game for Quebec. Penalties that were assessed. Nolan got 2 for elbowing, 5 for fighting, the same as Vial, and Sakic drew a 10-minute misconduct. Troy Murray. He couldn't control it. Young lost it. Gaudreau comes back. Ottawa on the power plays. We move into the final minute. And it's flipped down the ice wide of the empty Ottawa net. Beaupré on the bench. An extra attacker out there for the Senators, trailing by 2 goals. Duck to the corner. A race for the puck. Wolanin can't clear. Forsberg comes in. He can't get it out. Troy Murray in front. Blocked by Lefebvre. He fires at the length of the ice, and it goes wide. Netzcash back to the net. Leaves it there for Murray. Forsberg's on him. Netzcash picks up the loose puck. 19 seconds remaining. Here comes Daig. Daig ahead for LaRouche. LaRouche fakes. Goes in deep. Tried to center it for Yashin. And it was blocked by Snow. It goes to the corner. Quebec now back at full strength out front. Yashin trying to jam at it. The final seconds ticking away. The puck comes free. And it's fired the length of the ice, but the whistle had gone with 2.2 seconds remaining.
Now, there's nothing better than killing a penalty, having a 2-goal lead, and having the goalie pulled. You can do your job and still shoot for the empty net at the other end of the rink without worrying about putting your team at a disadvantage. Watch the play Snow makes here. Follows LaRouche the whole way around the net as the clock ticks down. This guy moves pretty well laterally 2 or 3 times this afternoon. Ottawa's taken shots from the side, tried to find the 5-hole on them. He keeps it closed and follows the puck right around. And on that particular play, not only did he do that, but he stopped the centering pass as well. Good lateral movement and a heads-up play by Garth Snow.
So Ottawa's losing string will extend to 7 games with a 7-5 loss to Quebec at Le Coliseum this afternoon. And Quebec's record of not losing back-to-back games all season remains intact as they score this win after a 6-4 loss to Washington on Friday.
Well, you got a feel for Ottawa. They're looking at all sorts of ways to win hockey games, and it's just not happening. Quebec, on the other hand, was a little bit loosey-goosey in the first couple of periods. A pile of goals scored, but in the last 10 minutes of the third, I thought particularly their defensemen really buckled things down and played as strong defensively as Crawford wanted them to in the first couple of periods.
7-5, Quebec defeats Ottawa this afternoon at Le Coliseum, led by a 3-goal performance from Owen Nolan. 7-5, Quebec over Ottawa.
2 assists this afternoon. Joe Sakic with a goal and 2 assists, now 4th in league scoring. And Owen Nolan, 3 goals, 27 on the season, NHL goal scoring leader as the Quebec Nordiques beat the Ottawa Senators by a final score of 7-5. Here's Owen Nolan. 21 points, 15 goals in your last 11 games. To what do you attribute your great success, Roland Nolan? That's the new nickname.
Well, definitely I got to give my whole team a lot of credit. We're working real hard, and you know, we're gelling together real well. And especially Peter and Bob Bass. And I mean, the 3 of us are just trying to do our best out there, and it seems to be working real well.
Now, Wendell Clark's injured, but some say when Wendell Clark arrived, it made Owen Nolan play bigger. Is there something to that?
Well, I mean, Wendell's got a lot of character, and he's a great role model for a lot of guys in the team. And you just try and look up to him and see what he does in practice, and he works hard in that. And, you know, you just try and do what he does.
Now, you're huffing and puffing right now, and let's show you why, because people don't understand how much a fight can drag out of somebody, and it does drag a lot out of you, and you had a set to late in the game with Dennis Vial. Let's talk about that.
Well, as you can see, you know, Dennis is going after Joe, and, you know, you can't have your top players getting hit like that, and Dennis was doing that all night, and you know, this is my mistake right here, is trying to fight after a long shift. And
you had him when he was down, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, that's not good. And, you know, it just starts from that. I mean, you can't have guys like that hitting your top players in the team.
Now, this is your 5th season in Quebec City. You've seen a lot of losing here. Did you, at any point, you just say to yourself, boy, when's this thing going to end? I've had enough.
Well, I've had a lot of frustrating seasons here. You know, our team's been losing a lot, and I definitely know what Ottawa's going through right now. But, you know, we're winning a lot right now, and it feels good.
League leading scorer in the National Hockey League. Did you set any goal at the start of this shortened season?
Well, you know, I just coming back from the injury, and this is my first season since it, and I just wanted to have a good season you know, have a good season for the team as well.
You bet. You can't ask any more than you've done. Owen Nolan, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go upstairs now with their thoughts. Here are Don Whitman and Jim Puplinsky.